Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. This one is my team selection, so we'll have a quick look at how I got on in Game Week 17. Then we'll check out my Game Week 18 team and my future plans. And we'll also have a look at some Saka replacements, because I know that a lot of you own Saka and will now need to sell him and get someone new in. So, 90 points for me this week, which was a really nice week. Game week rank of 989k. That meant that my rank went from 169k to 121k. So again, really nice week. It's been a wild ride since I did my wildcard in game week 10 when I was at 2.2 million rank. Now I'm at 121k. So that wildcard has been unbelievable for me. So yeah, Verbruggen in goal. Turns out it didn't matter if I played him or Fabianski. Again, I'm just, as I say in every single video, I'm just glad I'm not spending money on this position. If I had someone like Alisson this week or Raya this week, I'd be more annoyed because I'm spending money on that position, meaning that I've got more expectation on them. I'm just glad I'm spending as little as possible on that position. Then Trent Alexander-Arnold with 4 points. He got an assist, a beautiful assist it was as well. Castan was one of my transfers in. I did 8 Nuri to Castan and then Cunha to Isak. Both of those look like they've paid off really nicely. Castan with 6 points, as I say. If I didn't do that move, I'd have had to play Lewis with 0 points. So, yeah, gone very well. I was stressing quite a lot before the deadline on who to play between Anderson and Hall. After Saturday, I thought I'd got that wrong, given that Hall kept a clean sheet. Almost got an assist as well, but turns out it didn't matter because Anderson didn't get any minutes. So Hall came in as an auto sub and I did get that 6 points, which was nice. Then not much to talk about in the midfield apart from Salah really. And Burmo with 2, Fernandez with 2, although it seemed like he played really well and he had decent XGI, so fine with him. Palmer with 3. I captained Salah, as most people did, to be honest. The reason being is that it was a little bit close, I suppose, but the Everton defence is just pretty good now. So that was the reason for that. And then Salah captain obviously did the business. Isaac, 17 points, hat-trick. I brought him in this week. The only reason I actually did this move as well is because I had the exact funds to do it. I didn't think I was going to get Isak until this week, game week 18, because I was kind of fine with playing Cunha. Obviously the fixture was good for Cunha. Cunha did score. So I was kind of happy with that, but Isak was going to go up in price, and as you can see at the top left corner, I have 0 funds in the bank now. Isak was going to go up in price, meaning that I had to make the move in game week 17, and I'm glad I did, because 17 points, a hat-trick for Isak. I'm really glad I've got him. Jackson with 2 points, again that fixture against Everton. And then João Pedro with 2. He's been very disappointing of late, but I'm happy to keep him certainly for this week. This week's fixture is brilliant, but I know quite a lot of people were looking to move him on. I'm not really sure who you'd be moving him on for, is my only thing. I mean, a few weeks ago we had kind of an abundance of good cheap forwards, but right now there just isn't. So like I say, I don't really know who exactly you're moving him on for. Chris Wood is probably the best of the bunch, but it's certainly not worth a transfer this week, I don't think. Anyway, I'll talk about him a little bit more when we look at my Game Week 18 team. Anyway, Semenyo I obviously benched. Now if you've watched my videos before, you'll know that Semenyo, I'm a huge fan of Semenyo, massive fan. What the main reasoning for that is, he plays the most minutes out of the attackers for Bournemouth. He's taken the second most shots in the league behind Erling Haaland, and Bournemouth are 3rd for XG out of all teams behind Liverpool and Chelsea this season. So if you're playing that many minutes and you're taking that many shots in a team that's like top 3 attacks in the league, you're going to get points. The points kind of drought that he had was really nothing to worry about. So yeah, Semenyo is going nowhere for me. He never was. He, for me, is the best budget midfield option. So yeah, I think he's honestly, we'll talk about him later on as well. I think he's a good Saka replacement if you don't own him, but we'll get into that later on. Let's have a look at how I'm lining up for game week 18. Right, so in goal, Verbruggen with Brentford at home or Fabianski with Southampton away. It's actually pretty close, to be honest. Neither defence is particularly good at the moment. Verbruggen's got the home fixture. For Fabianski, it's away. I'll probably go with Verbruggen, although there's not much in it. I really won't spend much time on that decision. I'll probably just go for Verbruggen. Then in defence, Castan and Anderson both play Chelsea away. That is a very bad fixture. So they're both on the bench. I've got Trent, Alexander-Arnold with Leicester at home. Unbelievable fixture. Lewis with Everton at home. That's a pretty good fixture. I do think he'll start. I'm not too worried about him starting. We could get elite given that it is the first game as well, which might help. But if my other option is playing Castan, then I'll probably just start Lewis anyway. Then we've got Lewis Hall with Villa at home. Not the best fixture, but he is quite attacking, and Newcastle are playing pretty well at the moment, so I'm fine with that. Again, the other options are Castan or Anderson, which are worse. So I'm fine with the defence. Let's get on to the midfield. Okay, so I've got a bit of a benching headache, but we'll talk about that once I've gone through the forwards. So got Semenyo of Crystal Palace at home. Really nice fixture. The Crystal Palace defence hasn't been that bad, although they did just ship 5 goals to Arsenal. So yeah, I've got him playing at the moment, but we'll talk about that in a second. Fernandes has Wolves away. Great fixture. Salah has Leicester at home. He'll definitely be my captain. I suppose there is a slight chance that he gets rested. Won't even call it benched, rested. Given that it's quite a busy schedule and Leicester at home seems like a fixture that he could be rested for, especially now Chiesa's actually in the picture a little bit. So there's a small chance he gets rested. Well, Harvey Elliott is also in the picture who could play that position. But yeah, he'll be my captain, to be honest. I can't really see him being rested, but there is a small chance. Then Palmer has Fulham at home, another pretty good fixture. The Fulham defence isn't actually bad and hasn't been bad this season, but it just isn't as bad as the Leicester defence, so it's an easy captaincy decision this week for me. Okay, and the forwards are Isak, Jackson and João Pedro. All three have home fixtures. João Pedro of Brentford at home, unbelievable fixture. I know that a lot of people are looking at selling him, as I mentioned before. It hasn't crossed my mind to sell him. Yes, he's been disappointing, but this fixture is very, very good. So I definitely won't be selling him. Jackson has Fulham at home, same as Palmer obviously. Fine with him. Isak has Aston Villa at home. Again, not the best fixture, but it's also not bad. And Newcastle at home are pretty good. Then I've got Mbeumo on the bench with Brighton away. Now, I do have a benching headache. I kind of want to play all 8 of my attackers, but that is the sacrifice you have to make when you have 8 good attackers. The 3 that I would consider benching is obviously Mbeumo, Semenyo and probably Jackson. I'd say they're the only 3 I'd consider benching. The reason I say Jackson is that we saw previously that in the midweek fixtures he is susceptible to a rest or a benching. He got rested in the Southampton game a few weeks ago, which was midweek. However, Maresca has come out and said that Nkunku isn't a striker. So that does make me think that maybe Jackson does play this game. It's a tough one. I don't think we'll know before the deadline, which is kind of annoying. And hopefully if he does get rested, he just doesn't come on, although that does also seem quite unlikely. So there is a world where I just guess and bench him, but I kind of don't like doing that. So at the moment I'm on Mbeumo. I could bench Semenyo, as I say. It's a really tough decision. I'm not sure where I'm going to land on it. But at the moment I'm playing Semenyo and benching Mbeumo. Now, as you can see in the top corner, I've got 3 free transfers. I've got nothing in the bank. The only player, the first thing you'll notice is I don't have any Arsenal players. I haven't had any Arsenal players since my wildcard in Gameweek 10. That's nothing against Arsenal. I think Arsenal are great. It just hasn't been right for my team. So, defenders-wise, I'm not interested in I'm not interested in taking one of the other players down to afford an Arsenal defender, because obviously all of the Arsenal defenders are more expensive than Hall, Lewis, Castan, Anderson. I'm not selling Trent, obviously. So I'd have to get funds from somewhere else to bring probably Lewis up to an Arsenal defender. That would involve probably Brian and Burmo, going down to a cheaper mid like Rodgers, Enzo, Ahmad, Iwobi maybe. But at the moment I just don't think I'm that interested in that. Arsenal's fixtures are pretty good, but again, like I say, I'd rather have this set up, I think, and get Mbeumo. Obviously, I got lucky not owning Saka. He blanked a couple times and he went off injured. It sounds like he's going to be out for quite a long time. So I don't have to make a transfer to find a replacement for him, which is lucky. So, yeah, the only other player that I do kind of want, I don't need him this week because the fixture isn't the best, but Daniel Munoz from Crystal Palace. The player that I'd want to sell to get him is Lewis, and Lewis is 4.6 million. Munoz is 4.7 million, sorry. So I could really do with 0.1 in the bank to just make that a straight move, but unfortunately I don't have it. So again, that would involve taking Mbeumo down to a cheaper mid, which I don't mind. I just don't want to do it this week, especially as Munoz plays Bournemouth away, so it's a bad fixture. So I won't be doing that this week. I'll be rolling my transfer, so I'll have, unless we get any other news, that is anyway. So I'll have 4 free transfers for next week when I can really look at how I get Munoz in. But for now, this will be the team. Like I say, benching headache between Mbeumo, Semenyo and potentially Jackson. Besides that, this is how I will look. Now, a lot of people have Saka, so let's have a look at some different replacements for him. Okay, so I've got 3 players on screen here. Martin Odegaard, Anthony Gordon, Bruno Fernandes. There's also one other that we'll talk about, and then I have also got a section which we'll go on to in a minute about the cheaper mids to go for, because I think that's also a viable option. But yeah, the probably obvious replacement is Martin Odegaard. I mean, without Saka around, Odegaard is most likely on penalties. The fixtures are good. If you look at the fixture kind of difficulty rating that I've got on screen here, it's absolutely nonsense for Arsenal, to be honest. Ipswich at home is green, fine, I agree it's green. Brentford away is never a red fixture. Yes, Brentford's home record is unbelievable, but that's partly due to the fixtures they've had. Brentford away is not a red fixture. At most it's orange, so that isn't particularly bad. Again, Tottenham at home, I agree that for a defender, if we're talking about Arsenal defence, then yeah, Tottenham at home is a red fixture. Tottenham look like scoring in almost any game. But their defence is woeful. So for an attacker, it definitely isn't a red fixture. It's almost a green fixture, to be honest. We saw how open their defence was against Liverpool the weekend. So for Odegaard or any of the Arsenal attackers, that's not a red fixture at all. So the fixtures are better than they look on the face of it. Again, like I say, I don't think his minutes are a problem. I think that with Saka out, he plays all of the available minutes there are, unless Arsenal are however many goals up and he can be taken off early and rested. Fixtures are good, minutes are good, probably on penalties. So yeah, it's just a really good option. The one kind of thing to note is that they did win 5-1 at the weekend and he wasn't involved at all. But it's a 1-game sample. I don't think we need to worry about it too much. One other player I would like to mention as well is Martinelli. So when Saka came off against Crystal Palace, Martinelli moved over onto that right hand side and Trossard came on and played on the left. So not that we've got much data on it, but I guess judging by that, Martinelli will potentially be the one that is playing instead of Saka, in which case he's great as well. He obviously is a bit more risky minutes wise, but it wouldn't surprise me if we just saw him playing that Saka role for the time that Saka's out, at least in the near future anyway. I mean, you can always just transfer him out if it doesn't work, but yeah, I do like Martinelli as an option. Next up, we've got Anthony Gordon. I think he's going under the radar a little bit. He's got 2 assists in his last 2 games. Obviously, Isak is taking the limelight, and rightfully so. Isak's been unbelievable. But Gordon has also been very good. He gets very good minutes in this Newcastle team. And again, the fixtures aren't bad. Like I just mentioned, Tottenham is a red fixture on here. It shouldn't be. It should be green for an attacker. They've got Wolves in there. The Villa and Man United games aren't the best. Neither defence is particularly bad, but the Newcastle attack is just good at the moment. So I really like Gordon as an option as well. And then also Bruno Fernandes is going to be another really popular option as a replacement. Their fixtures are a bit mixed. So Wolves away is obviously brilliant next up. Newcastle at home is okay. It's better that it's at home. Newcastle aren't as good away from home. Liverpool away is almost as bad as it gets. Then Southampton at home is almost as good as it gets. So it's a real mixed bag. But I do like how Bruno's playing under Amorim. Yes, sometimes he is playing a bit deeper. Sometimes it's mid-game that changes. Sometimes, although less so in the Premier League, we've seen him start in the position. He does tend to be one of the 2 behind the striker, which I really like for him. His numbers have been good and he's been getting a good few returns as well. So I think he's a really good option. Another play here, if you're selling Saka, is to go down to one of the more budget mids and distribute those funds elsewhere. So if you don't own Trent, for example, if you don't own Isak, for example, you can take Saka down to a cheaper midfielder and then use the extra funds that you generate to move a defender up to Trent or move a striker, a forward, up to Isak. So let's look at the best budget midfielders to go for now. Okay, so the first player I've got on here is, not surprising, Antoine Semenyo. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I think he's absolutely brilliant. So the fixtures are okay. Crystal Palace at home is okay. Their defence isn't horrendous, but as I say, they did just ship 5 goals against Arsenal. Fulham away, again, it's okay. All of the fixtures are kind of just okay. They're not playing like top defences, but they're also not playing the worst defences. So yeah, the fixtures are okay. I just think he's brilliant. And the Bournemouth attack is one of the best in the league. We've gone through it. We don't need to go through it anymore, really. Then we've got Rodgers, obviously fresh off of a nice 14-point haul. Their fixtures, again, are a bit of a mixed bag. Newcastle is okay. Brighton is okay. Leicester at home is unbelievable, obviously. And then again, Everton and Arsenal, not the best, but okay. So if you don't have Rodgers, which a lot of people do own Rodgers, to be honest, then I don't mind that move. I probably wouldn't go there myself just because I prefer some of the other options. I definitely prefer Semenyo over Rodgers, for example. But I also prefer Amad Diallo over Rodgers, just because since Amorim has come in, it's clear that he is preferred, not even just mainly in the wing-back position, that right wing-back role, but also he's played as one of the 2 behind the striker as well. It doesn't even matter where he plays. His attacking threat isn't not as good in one of them. He's just brilliant anywhere he plays, and he's ridiculously cheap. So I really like him. Enzo Fernandez is obviously still a really good option as well. Chelsea's fixtures are still unbelievable. They've been brilliant for a while, and they continue to be really good. So he is definitely an option. So yeah, plenty of budget options, to be honest. There's even the likes of maybe Iwobi. There's a lot of budget options that you could go for. So again, if you don't own Trent or you don't own Isak, or there's someone you don't own which you need funds for, then there isn't a standout replacement in the kind of premium or mid-price midfield options. So I don't mind taking Saka down to a more budget option and using those funds elsewhere. But yeah, that's all for this one. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. And if you like the video, do hit like, do subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.